TV, Ottawa.
Welcome to Daytime Ottawa here on Rogers TV. Certainly proud to say that we at Daytime focus on mental health throughout the year, but today is Let's Talk Day. So we're dedicating the entire show and focusing the entire show on mental health. We're going to introduce you to two wonderful mental health advocates who are doing incredible things here in our community. We're also going to introduce you to two organizations who offer mental health services, and that's exactly where we start today's show. We're going to speak with Leslie Scott. She is the Manager of Media, Marketing, and Communications with the Distress Center of Ottawa and Region. Leslie, welcome to the show. Wonderful to have you here. And on a personal note, just want to ask you, how you've been coping during the pandemic.
I think I'm quite along the same lines as a lot of people, a little bit of stress, a little bit of anxiety, trouble sleeping at times. And I think it's really normal to be going through these abnormal times. And knowing that we're not alone in how we're coping with the pandemic.
Well, and that's a great way to put it, because you're not alone, because the Distress Center of Ottawa and Region offers wonderful services. Let's talk a little bit about the Distress Center and the services that you offer, Leslie.
Yeah, so first and foremost, Ottawa's really lucky to have the Distress Center. We've been around for 53 years this year, and we're Ottawa's 24/7 crisis and support line service. And that means that at any given time of day or night, anybody of any age is welcome to pick up the phone and call us, and we've got people on the other line who are waiting there to talk to you about whatever you're going through. And this is a service that is not going anywhere, because we've just hit another record-breaking year last year where we had over 63,000 conversations in a year.
Wow. Incredible. So you have seen, obviously, that was going to be one of my questions, Leslie, you have seen a rise in the amount of people that are contacting you due to the pandemic. And I imagine many of them finding themselves isolated and certainly, suffering from, various mental health issues. Let's talk about, what are you hearing from some of the people that are calling?
Yeah, sure. It's a lot of anxiety that's coming through the phone lines right now. And that is due to the pandemic, really, or it's people that have already dealt with anxiety and it's being amplified by the pandemic. It's
Right.
One of the highest topics that people have when they're calling is, I'm feeling anxious about X, Y, or Z. And I think that really speaks volumes to what the pandemic has done to us. And in terms of isolation, like you said, and, repeat lockdowns and, do this to stay safe. And then hearing of people getting sick. It's really been hard on a lot of people's mental health. And a lot of people have been diagnosed for the first time with a mental illness since all the pandemic started. So it's hard to hear, but we know that things are going to get better, and we just want to make sure that people know that they have a place to turn to no matter what time of day or night when they're feeling anxious and they've got somebody to talk to.
Well, let's talk about who's on the other end of the line. You have some wonderful volunteers, and for those people that, are wondering, what type of training do they get? Walk us through who's on the other end of the line and the kind of training that they've received.
So we don't pick people off the street and be like, okay, you're going to be a great volunteer. You're on our phone lines tomorrow. We have a really vigorous screening process, which includes interviews, a lengthy application. We do reference checks. We do police records checks. And this is all before people are invited to do our training with us. And, when they start our training, it's 60 hours in length, and that includes the Suicide Intervention Skills Training Program, or ASSIST, if you will, so that we're prepared to answer whatever comes through our phone lines, because we don't have that technology yet to tell us, oh, okay, that's a call about a bad day at work, or, oh, that's a parenting call, or that's a call about somebody who's contemplating suicide. So we need to be prepared for whatever we answer the phones, that we've got the right resources in our back pocket, we've got the right tools and the right support to give to the person who's calling.
And I guess we should reassure people that this is a confidential phone call, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Confidential from beginning to end. The only time we break confidentiality is if there's a child in danger, or if we are concerned that there is something that we need to get the emergency services to you immediately.
Some people aren't comfortable talking on the phone. We talked about this briefly off camera, and you offer services for those people that are more comfortable using different types of things like text and chat, right?
Yeah, so we launched our text and chat in 2021 at the end of the year. And it has been a really great tool for people who have either a fear of talking on the phone, because that's really real and valid for a lot of people. And it's also a really great tool for people who may not have the opportunity to speak on the phone, whether that be that they're not in a position at home that they are safe to do so, or they're just a busy parent and having a chat conversation while they're working at the same time is just easier. Last year alone, we had over 2,400 conversations on text and chat. So we know it's working really well and people are appreciating that new service.
Leslie, you can't offer these services without the support of the community. How can people help support, whether it's through donations or volunteering their time?
Donations are huge for us because a lot of people think that we are government funded, and we're not. So we are a not-for-profit charity, and we host fundraisers on non-pandemic years, but obviously we haven't been able to hold our in-person events over the past couple of years. So donations go really far right now for us. Anything from $5 to $5,000 is amazing. And those donations can be made right on our website. You can hold your own fundraising event from the comfort of your home and make a donation that way. And then, of course, volunteers. We always need volunteers. So we have every shift covered and that nobody's call goes unanswered.
Excellent. Leslie, thanks so much for spending time with us. And I'll remind everybody at home, again, that website is dcottawa.on.ca, and that hotline. If you're in distress and you need to speak to somebody, it's 613-238-3311. We'll be back with more right after this.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
$20. And Maggie, Mrs. Calabash, come into my kitchen. A quick mayonnaise, egg yolks, garlic, Dijon mustard, lemon juice, olive oil, immersion blender. Go down, come up. Voila, mayonnaise. Boom, 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 boom. $20. $20. Yeah.
Play 4 games of bingo from the comfort of your own home each Monday at 7 p.m. for your chance to win money from our $2,000 regular bingo or $5,000 super bingo night. Kiwanis TV Bingo, Mondays at 7 p.m. on Rogers TV.
Hi, I'm Harriet Clooney. Come check out my show, Scrap Cooking, where I'm going to show you how to use the bits and bobs, the ends, pieces of things that you might otherwise throw in the compost. I'm going to show you how to turn them into something delicious.
Welcome back to the show, and we are dedicating this entire show, as I said off the top, to mental health. And one of the organizations that offers mental health services here in our community is the Youth Services Bureau, and I am joined by Michelle Earle, Coordinator of Mental Health Services with the Youth Services Bureau. Michelle, welcome to the show. Certainly always great to speak to the Youth Services Bureau. And let's start off talking a little bit about the program and services that you offer at the Youth Services Bureau.
Right. So Youth Services Bureau has been around since 1960. So it's been around for quite a while, and it's the largest youth serving agency in Ottawa. And some of the services that we offer in mental health is a 24/7 crisis line. And so it's important to note that with this crisis line, it's not necessarily just used when you're in active crisis. It can also be used as a resource. So if families are looking to get some community resources, they can call our crisis line. We also have a 24/7 chat line. So again, it's not always easy for folks to make that first phone call. And we know that for some youth, it's a lot easier to be able to do that through chat. So we're really pleased that we can offer both of those services.
Michelle, are you seeing an increase? Are you seeing an increase in calls during the pandemic?
Absolutely. Like, we're finding that there's an increase in calls where youth are feeling quite isolated and not having anyone around their social network. Parents are also feeling a high stress level, so they are calling our crisis line, looking for support, and as well as looking to see what's available in the community.
Let's look at some of the other great things that you offer, and one of those is your youth mental health walk-in clinic. Tell us a little bit about the walk-in clinic and perhaps how it's been impacted by the pandemic.
Right. So our youth mental health walk-in clinic, we have available 2 days a week from 12 till 8 p.m. and the last appointment is 6. And so we have seen an increase as well as youth coming into our walk-in as well as parents. And some of the things that we're noticing is for youth that are experiencing a sense of loss during this pandemic. A lot of youth haven't had their graduation ceremonies as they had initially planned. There's no proms, lack of sport teams. And so they are feeling, a sense of loss. Also a sense of isolation. They're away from their friends. It's difficult for some youth to be learning online. And as well as there's this increase in exhaustion. So there's a lack of a sleep routine, not eating well, lack of physical activity. And as well as, parents are also feeling the impacts of this pandemic. They have, they're also finding it hard to look at their own self-compassion, where it's so important to do that. We often remind parents it's like that saying when you get onto the airplane and they advise you to put the mask on first, in order to be able to, and then after it to your child. It's the same thing with parenting.
Great analogy.
It's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really important for parents to be able to take that little bit of a break, and then being able to feel like they're rejuvenated and be able to go back and parent.
How do we go about encouraging our kids to really seek out that help that they need? If they don't want to access services, if I'm a parent and I see that my child is struggling, how do I encourage them to access services?
Sometimes parents are the best resource for their teens. And this is about having open communication. It's about being able to do things with your youth, like things such as, going for coffee. It could be going for a drive in the car. Families have told us that some of the most meaningful conversations that they've had with their youth is when they are in the car. So those sorts of things. And really listen to your youth and give them 100% of your attention, and to try and remove any kind of distractions, remove the phones, the tablets, the computers, those sorts of things, and really just focus in on the connection. And also that, as a parent, we often sometimes we want to give advice. And we want to be able to tell the youth what we would do if we were in that situation. And sometimes that's not what the youth is really looking for. They're not looking for advice or answers. They're just looking for a sounding board. So this is a really good opportunity for parents to practice empathy, to really think about what's it like to be in that, in your teen's shoes. Imagine what they're feeling.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Michelle. It's so important because oftentimes when our kids, start sharing with us, our immediate reaction is start giving advice and almost overwhelm them. So some great advice. Michelle, really appreciate you spending time with us. Want to remind everybody that crisis line is 613-260 2360. And of course, you can find out more information on the website. That's ysb.ca. We'll be back with more Daytime right after this.
Welcome to the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of the Stalo people. The Stalo are people of the river. I'm so thankful for the courage and resiliency of our ancestors who lived on this land since time immemorial. Each of us have gifts from the Creator, and our Creator has a plan and purpose to be fulfilled in our territory. As we embrace our traditional teachings, we can lead the next generation into the fullness of what our Creator designed. Our shared history reveals a broken relationship, but as all Canadians commit to hear truth, acknowledge injustice, we can learn to walk in our traditional way, Letsamot, with a good heart and a good mind. Then all of our lives will be enriched. Kwasai.
October 5th, 2014, my daughter was hit by a train. She was walking along the sides of the tracks, and it shattered her world.
Welcome back to the show. We are concentrating this entire show, of course, on mental health. And our next guest is a wonderful mental health and wellness advocate. I am joined by Chris Nihmey. Chris, welcome to the show. Great to have you here. And Chris, I know you've been great about sharing your own story and very honest and a very open and authentic person. So let's talk about your story, Chris. Tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Thank you for having me today. It's a wonderful opportunity to share my story, but also to give people hope in their own journeys of dealing with their struggles. I can take us way back. It's hard to believe. It used to seem so close, but 1997, I had just graduated university. I went to Western University. I had everything in my hands. I had received awards. I was president of the student council. I had graduated. I went to teachers college, and it took a long time to earn all those things. But something was happening during those times, and I just stayed silent. My biggest excuse was I was worried about what people would think. I was worried to scare my family, and I used the excuse that many people who suffer use, which is I'm fine. It was a secret. It was a secret I held, and it was probably the thing that made things much, much worse because I stayed quiet. Things continued to build and get worse. And in 2000, after only 2 years of teaching, I resigned after being diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And from there, it was an uphill climb, a decade-long battle because I had kept things in for so long that things got worse and worse, and eventually I hit a crisis. So it led to a long journey, but here I am today. I've healed substantially with a ton of support, which I'm going to talk more about, a loving family, an amazing doctor, my faith above, and it led me to find purpose in my life, which led me to write and to put together my memoir, which was a book that I wanted to share with others to give them hope and show them that healing does happen. It's a long journey, that's for sure. But with the right support, with the right people in play, and with the hard work, it happens. It really does happen. And that's what I want to show people, that healing is possible.
Well, you said you wanted to touch on that support, Chris. So let's talk about that because people that that are watching right now and they perhaps see some of the signs of somebody that is struggling. Just tell people at home how much that support means to somebody.
I can't emphasize it enough. I mean, my family was a godsend. They were there no matter what I had, no matter what I did. Because when you're dealing with illness, you're doing things that you would never say, do, or think because you're going through so much. But as I always stress with anyone I speak to, I don't care what your family member is going through. Never let your loved one go. Because in the midst of the worst that I was going through, my parents and my doctor, and, you know, they were there. They were by my side no matter what. And they realized that I couldn't do it alone. And I needed those people. And that's why days like today are so important, that we talk and we converse and we're there for each other and there's connection, because you can't do it alone. Because without the people around you, hope does dwindle. And without hope, healing doesn't happen. So, you know, knowing that those people were in my life was a big, big push forward in my road to healing.
Let's talk about your latest initiatives, Chris, to improve mental health services. So what do you think is necessary? I know you're passionate about it.
Oh, I'm very passionate. So what I've learned over the years, working with, you know, in the field of mental health, is that for the longest time, mental illness and mental health has taken a back seat to physical health, which is kind of odd because the brain is a physical organ and the most critical organ in our body. So one of my big initiatives is to try to gain parity between the mental and the physical, because we need more funding, we need more accessibility, we need to open doors so that people know where to go to get help immediately. I've dealt with many people in my own journey in advocacy who are struggling and trying to find a place to go, and there's nowhere. They're either going to emergency, family doctors. These areas, great. They give them some support, but it's not the support they need. They need mental health professionals to guide them through. So my initiatives that I'm working on are to open those doors to avenues where people can get the help they need on demand right away.
Yeah, Chris, I couldn't agree more. When you look at the percentages that we put towards mental health and our healthcare system here in Canada, it is quite shameful. Really appreciate you being so authentic and sharing time with us. Thanks so much, Chris. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Daytime right after this.
Sometimes, for a wish to come true, it takes a kingdom, because together is stronger. Tied tight, united we stand, in honor of one child's wish, to fuel the fire that will grant many more. Join the kingdom.
How about that puck movement? Right on target.
67's action on Rogers TV.
Every year, dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
Welcome back. My next guest is an award-winning mental health speaker and advocate. He's also the host of Life in Red podcast. I'm joined by Ryan Forsythe. Ryan, great to see you. Always a pleasure talking to you. You and I had a chance to have a great, half-hour sit-down to share your story. Let's share that story here as briefly as we have, as far as time goes. But I want you to share your story and tell people about your story of mental illness.
So I've been suffering from anxiety and depression for almost all my life since I was 12 years old. And in 2015, I first shared my story. But that story also came with the caveat that in 2012, I tried to end my life. So after I shared it actually on a Let's Talk day like today, I started advocating on social media, then became a public speaker, a fundraiser, and that progression has just kind of continued on as I've grown older and, continued to battle mental illness.
And Ryan, I want you to talk a little bit about how you are making a difference, because I think some people believe, they put in all this work and they share their story and they don't think they are. And it really just takes one person and it builds on that, Ryan. And you've helped so many people. I follow you on social media and I've just explain how often it is that, people reach out to you and how much they appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you, first of all, for those kind words. I would say I get messages daily. And what's quite incredible is sometimes it's people I know, friends and family. Sometimes it's people I'm loosely connected to. And then other times it's complete strangers reaching out with just something I said or something they saw or even something I shared. You talk to any advocate who's been doing this for a while, they'll say that, it's great to save so many lives, but if you just have one, just knowing you made a difference with one person, I mean, that's truly one of the most gratifying feelings I think you can ever experience.
Ryan, let's talk a little bit about men's mental health, because men oftentimes internalize things and they don't feel comfortable. I think there's still a stigma, of course, when it comes to mental health across the board. And I think some men feel it even more so. Can you speak on that a little?
Yeah, we're conditioned from a very early age that showing emotion, being sad, crying, all of those are traditionally like more feminine traits. So we as men are kind of socially conditioned and brought up in the sense that we have to be strong, that we have to lead, that any sign of weakness is going to set us back. And I think it's important to recognize that real strength is admitting when you're not okay, admitting when you're vulnerable. That's not an easy thing to do. Even someone like myself who talks about this all the time, it's not always the most easy thing to come forward with something I might be struggling with. So that's the message I always want to give to men, and especially young men, that when you speak up, it releases that burden, that heavy feeling, that weight you've been carrying around. And it gives you an opportunity to not only work on those things, but continuously get better as time moves on.
Yeah. What do you think we can do better as men as well when it comes to things like toxic masculinity, Ryan?
I mean, my version of that, like masculinity, is just whatever feels right to you. So I let my sisters paint my nails here over the weekend.
Nice.
And I think that's totally cool. It makes it feels like a rocker, but
right on.
There's not one way to be a man. I always like to say that, I'm a hockey player. I like metal music or traditionally more masculine things, but, I also like musicals. I also like to dance or do things that, might be seen as not manly. So what we can do is just really embrace the parts of ourselves that we enjoy and not view things as manly or, feminine, but also support other people who are doing that. And when you see someone speaking out or really living their most authentic life, we should support them. We should encourage them. We should send our love to them, because I think that's the most important thing. If we all embrace it, we'll continuously see strides into the future.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. A great point to end our conversation on. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I want to tell everybody, by the way, if you want to find more conversations like this, you can visit Ryan's podcast. It is lifeinredpodcast.com. Thanks so much for joining us on this Let's Talk Day, and we'll see you next time here on Daytime.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Focus better.
Heal better.
Sleep better.
Partner better.
Create better.
Love better.
Breathe better.
Learn better.
Laugh better. Lead better.
Think better. Work better. Friend better. Unwind better.
Happy better. Everything gets better when you get active.
The regulars. the guys who keep this place in business. Last week, they had something to celebrate. Jason had just finished university. So they toasted his profs, his TAs, his old roommates. Well, they toasted just about everyone. But I worry about and take care of my guys. So even when I know they're not driving, sometimes that means bringing them a little surprise. And then they had a drink to me.
Brought to you by Smart Serve Ontario and Arrive Alive, Drive Sober.
Welcome to Daytime Ottawa here on Rogers TV on this beautiful sunny day here in Ottawa. Great show ahead for you. As usual, we're going to be talking about City of Ottawa and the programs that they offer. When you think of programs offered by the City of Ottawa, first thing that comes to mind is perhaps fitness, but they have much more than that. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to introduce you to Christopher Lord. He is the owner of the King's Own Barber Shop. We'll talk about the impact the pandemic has had on his business and why he is one of the most unique barbershops here in the City of Ottawa. And Somersault Events, one of Eastern Ontario's, well, I shouldn't say one of, Eastern Ontario's largest multi-sport event series. Adam is here. He's going to be talking about the fact that they're putting on their first event since COVID began. But first, we're going to start off with a group, an organization that